Welcome to the Vanilla to Vixen podcast. This show contains adult content, so if you are under 18 or easily offended, please switch off now. Mr. and Mrs. N are not qualified relationship counsellors. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Now the disclaimer is out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy our journey from Vanilla to Vixen.
Welcome to episode 134 of Vanilla to Vixen. We are your hosts, Mr. and Mrs. N, and we're also sometimes known as...
the Naughty Couple.
Hello, Mrs. N.
Hello, Mr. N.
Well, blimey, this is episode 134. We've got a very special guest on in a little while.
Oh, we have a superb guest on.
One of our favourites.
Yes.
It is Crimson Rose, and she's got some exciting news for us, apparently.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that. Our sack has been full as usual.
Our sack or your sack, darling?
I've been sent a little message.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
A gentleman saw this and said, Mr. N, he thought I needed some help.
Right.
With the joke department.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this message is genuine. He said, I saw this on Fab, Mr. N, and I'm not sure he did. It's an advert.
Right.
Okay. Premature ejaculator seeks a young, attractive woman for a fling. Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Must have nice tits, hot lips, a tight arse, and, oh, fuck's sake, never mind.
Like, that's a good one.
So there you go. You see everything on Fab
I hope
Swingers.
the guy on the bike is all right.
He'll have fallen off again. Well, Mrs. N, on to more serious things.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we've got some amazing events coming up. We promised everyone a naughty tour.
We did.
We're all going on a naughty harbour tour, a naughty harbour tour, a naughty harbour tour. We are.
We'll get the bus out.
We are. So this weekend, obviously, is Friday, Saturday, Friday night. Tonight, we are off to Worcestershire to a secret hotel.
Yes.
And it is a super, super luxurious hotel.
I feel I need to use the word swanky.
It's like a mansion.
It is a mansion.
And we're off there Friday night and Saturday night. We have a few spaces left for the Saturday night.
We do.
So couples, we've got a couple of cancellations. Sadly, people couldn't make it. So we've got a couple of spaces for tomorrow. So if you do want to message us on Fab Swingers, if you're a couple or a single lady, for tomorrow night, Saturday, that is Saturday the 8th, for a hotel in Worcestershire, we can add you to the guest list if you're super quick.
You don't want to miss it. It's going to be fabulous.
Oh, this is going to be amazing. It is a super, super dressy place. You can get dressed up. You can be Lord and Lady of the Manor for a night.
Absolutely.
Come to a V2V party. It's called Velvet Vixen.
Yeah.
The Velvet Vixen Hotel Takeover.
And then you can get down and dirty in the basement later.
Oh, I thought you meant with me with my R&B DJing.
Oh, yes. Well, no, and that too.
You can get whining and grinding on the dance floor. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be awesome.
So we've got that. And of course, we have got Vegas Vixens.
Yes, that's next Friday.
Friday the 14th.
It's Hollywood night.
I know. I love Hollywood nights. You can get dressed up. Liberty Elite is the place.
Yeah, we've got the red carpet out. You've got your little man out, haven't you?
Oh, I've got to say my little man. My little Oscar that was only 1/10 of the scale.
He will be making an appearance.
But like a Matchbox car. He's totally and brilliantly recreated. He's just a bit small. Never mind.
Are we still talking about the Oscar?
Oh, We'll leave that one there. And another event that I'm really, really excited to announce. It's part of the V2V tour on Saturday, the 19th of April. It's Easter Saturday.
It is.
We are doing the V2V bunny hop.
Boing, boing.
It's the V2V bunny hop Easter party.
Yep.
And where is it? It's at a brand new venue we've never ever done before. It's the Annex Club.
It is.
In Kings Lynn.
Yeah, we're going down the seaside.
I know we're going to be dead close to the sea. It's going to be amazing. So if you fancy a naughty Easter break...
Yeah.
How good is this?
I know.
Easter Saturday, you could be back home. Back home, Easter Saturday, have a naughty night on Easter Saturday night.
Yeah.
And back home for Easter Sunday. So what you could do is contact us on Fab Swingers. It's the Easter Bunny Hop. This is brand spanking new.
All details are on our website.
Yep, v2v.uk. Doors open at 8:30 at the Annex.
Yeah.
It's going to be an amazing party, brand new. Perhaps you've never been to the Annex before. So perhaps you're a couple out there that fancy seeing a new place. Come and explore with us.
Yeah, their playrooms are super.
Yep, we've talked about it a few weeks ago.
We did.
About our experience at the Annex, and we loved it so much. We've got a party. We've got a V2V party at the Annex, so we're really excited about that.
Yes.
So that's cool. So that is on Saturday the 19th of April. Go back a week before, Saturday the 12th of April. We've got our Vanilla to Vixen Cosmic Connections party.
It is.
We are taking Vanilla to Vixen into the future.
We're going all sci-fi.
We are having a sci-fi party on Saturday the 12th of April. Bring your best tinfoil hats.
Guess whose idea this one was, listeners?
Sci-fi. All the cosplay, you can enjoy yourselves, have fun. It's going to be amazing. It's part of our V2V tour.
It is.
That one is at Liberty Elite.
Yeah.
Our wonderful Liberty Elite. We love that club. And obviously then Saturday the 19th, we've got the Easter party at the Annex. You can come and see us all over the country now.
You can follow us wherever you wish.
It's going to be so cool. So that just about covers all our events.
It does.
For the upcoming months or so.
We'll obviously give you more information as the weeks go on.
Absolutely. And now we've got a lady who was on the show a few months ago.
It was a few months ago.
A few months ago now. We saw her at Liberty Elite, and Mrs. N, you groomed her. She is a stunner.
She is, bless her.
She's one of the most popular single ladies, I think, on the scene. And she's known as Crimson Rose. The fabulous Crimson Rose.
Hello, my lovely.
Yes.
Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for agreeing to come on there. You really kind of saved our bacon this week.
Yes, absolutely. We had somebody booked in this week. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it, so we've got Crimson. So yeah, it's brilliant anyway.
Yes.
Because it's great that we've got Crimson.
Absolutely.
And the last time we saw you, we were actually sitting in Liberty Elite in the club.
We were, yeah, absolutely. And yet this time here I am sitting at my work desk where all the, I'd say magic happens, but it's not really.
So what has changed since we spoke to you last?
Well, the big difference is that having been, I think in my last podcast, I said something along the lines of, I don't do relationships anymore. They don't work for me.
That's right.
I've changed my mind on that.
Hey!
You're allowed to. It's a woman's prerogative.
Absolutely. I not long after we did the podcast, actually, I had been chatting to somebody who's really rather lovely, and we met, and it went just incredibly well, and we both realised that this is a lot more than just a meet, and even more than just a regular meet or a repeated meet, and we moved into being a couple. So that's the big difference.
That's amazing.
And that's a big step as well, isn't it?
It is absolutely a big step.
So you met somebody in the naughty hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I have had a couple of very sort of, one marriage that resulted out of the scene, the hobby. But we weren't active on at all together. We stepped back completely from it. So yeah, absolutely. We apparently, if you were here to tell his side of the story, apparently he had me on his hot list on Fab for quite some years.
That's kind of romantic.
That is so sweet.
And we'd both been away. And again, I think I'd said in my last podcast, I had been away in a relationship that was a vanilla one. In a relationship from the scene, and we both came back at a similar time. And we're both big forum users. So I know there's a very small amount of people who use the forum, but they do a lot of games, silly things designed to get people talking. And we both signed up to one of these, I don't know, my mate fancies you or something like that type threads. And he directly messaged me. And yeah, we got chatting, and it went from there. One disastrous, not quite meet. He doesn't live in mainland UK, so I tried to fly out to him in August, and it was an absolute complete disaster, which is well documented, and I won't bore you with. It resulted in me going in a bad-tempered strop to dangerous curves instead of flying out and having 48 hours of what I now know was going to be pretty mind-blowing sex. That was the night that I remember sitting on the big bed with the pair of yourselves.
That was the evening.
Oh my God, it's historic.
It is historic. Do you know what, though? That was the funniest thing, because we all said that we were terrible swingers that night because we just sat on the big bed chatting, didn't we? But we had a great night. We really loved it.
And making sure the sheets were okay.
We were, yeah. We were being like little mother hens, weren't we? Looking after everybody else that was trying to be really sexy, and we were talking about gout and fish eyes and things.
Wonderful topics. But yeah, so then obviously we finally managed to meet up, and it was just I have never experienced a connection like that with anybody that I've met, either in the hobby or outside of the hobby, and I'm lucky that he did feel the same. And yeah, so I'm trying not to talk in cliches, but the rest is history.
So kind of, how, if you don't mind me asking, how long a period was it before, you kind of decided to go the whole relationship?
It was very quick, to be honest. And I mean, I think I initially remember thinking to myself, am I rushing into this? But things have been so right. And I sometimes think you get to an age, a woman never reveals her age, but I'm 44. And, I think you realise what you want and what you are willing to accept. And when you've had as many disastrous relationships as I have, signs quite quickly around and go belly up. But I mean, we've been talking for a very long time as well. I think that's a really important point to make. And we used to do a lot of video calls before we'd even met. And I think that gives you a good feel for somebody. I think we'd probably met literally twice in fairly quick succession, especially considering how far apart we live. And then we had a conversation one day saying Fab just holds zero interest for me. The handful of other connections I was talking to, I've just, with no disrespect to them, just I can't get any motivation or interest to speak to anybody else. It just feels flat. All I'm interested in is what we're doing, and we took it from there, really. And we did, I mean, we set up a profile. So we probably started talking back end of the June. We finally managed to meet up in the middle of the September, and we'd set up a profile within about 4 or 5 weeks of that. So it is very quick, absolutely acknowledge that. But there's not ever been a time for me, and I'm confident in saying that he would say the same thing, that I thought, this is a mistake I've made. I've rushed into this. We've stayed on the scene, but we're not. I think another important thing that we're really conscious of is we're not trying to rush anything.
Yeah. I was going to say, because that's obviously when you go in as two singles, knowing the scene, then you have to have that conversation, don't you? You must have thought to yourself, are we going to stay in the scene? Are we not?
I mean, it's like, I've been around, it's 20 years this year since I went to my first club, which it's just horrifying.
You need a badge. You need some form of badge and a certificate.
Well, put it this way, honey, you look good on it.
You damn well do.
Very flattering, but no, thank you very much. But I mean, he's also been in the scene for a good many years, and we love the social aspect of it as much as we love the play aspect of it. So we've both talked at length about the fact that we wanted to stay in the scene because we enjoyed that element of it.
Yeah.
We've been to a few of your nights. We've been to a couple of other club nights at various different clubs, and we're just quite happy being in that environment and enjoying the chats and the friendships that you make through that, without any kind of rush to take anything to another stage and involve anybody else. So I think it's this is what I was saying earlier on. I'm revisiting all the podcasts and I'm listening to it with a different context now. And it's really interesting how you've talked so frequently about how you turn up to a club night and you make it your own. It's whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
And if you want to sit in the bar all night, go for it. No one's going to think badly of you. If you want to go off and, legs akimbo on the big bed, all comers welcome, literally. Feel free to do that too. And I think it really illustrates that, to me, how accepting people are of there is no one way to do swinging. You turn up and you do what works for you, and that's exactly what we're doing. And we're open to other things, but we're not rushing into it. It's interesting because it is like being, in some respects, it's like being new again.
Really?
Because it's I'm going to use the word evolution because I've been doing my homework.
Hey.
I'm no longer me, Crimson, looking to meet couples and single men and see where it goes and possibly meet some of regular. I'm now part of our Opus, who is looking to meet couples and see where we take it from there.
You've got to say that your name. So I write your couple's name down on the guest list, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
I'll let you into a secret. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But, it's sufficiently different. Our Opus, she'll say again. Message is welcome. What we make of the pronunciation, and you get it was us. You're not going to mistake us for anybody else with it. But it's one of the reasons we wanted to pick it. But yeah, so it is very different. It's a very different way of approaching things. And yeah, I do feel brand new. It's like when we first set up the profile, obviously when you're messaging for yourself, you make it's. I know it sounds really simple, but you really can't fully grasp how you're now messaging for two, and you sort of think, I don't want to pull somebody else onto a punch. So when we'd first get messages or winks, we'd be very polite. You've had a message. Shall I? What do you think? Shall we come back? Do you like? We'd both be very like that. And I mean, already now. I mean, what are we on? Are we 5 months on already? Yeah, we are. Gosh. Now we'll be just like, oh yeah, we had a wink. It wasn't Russ. I deleted it. But it was really it was quite bizarre to do that because you felt like I've got to I don't want to pull him into something that he's like thinking, oh my god, what's she replying to that for? Oh, what's she thinking? So but equally, I mean, I used to be quite some of the messages, I know we talked last time about some of the absolute horror shows that would drop into my inbox, and I would sometimes play about with that a little bit, and again it's having to be like, is that okay for me to do that with our shared inbox, or do you want me to just delete and get rid?
Do you notice a difference between like a couple's inbox and a single lady's inbox?
It's so different.
Really?
It really is. I mean, I'd have to say one thing, which perhaps it might come across as quite egotistical, and I hope it doesn't, because I don't mean it like that. But as a single woman in the hobby, we all know it's well documented. You can't turn around for tripping over another message.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that they're good messages, and it is definitely quality and not quantity that we're looking for here. I could post one picture on, and not even, I mean, I posted one once as a joke because I put it onto the Discord. I posted one of my big fluffy winter socks, and I mean, my profile blew up. This is obviously my single woman's profile.
Hey, there might be a kink for that. There might be a kink.
My bruised shins from doing pole and my red and white fluffy winter bed socks. And you don't get that same thing with the couples. I mean, you still do get, a fair few, but I mean, literally I've gone from maybe 1,200 views a day for not really doing very much to a couple of hundred views.
Holy shit.
And I have to say, even though you know full well as a single woman, that is nothing to do. It's not because I'm beautiful. It's not because I am wonderfully, excitingly interesting or anything like that. It's because I'm a single woman who's logged on and fab. Yeah. So I've got no illusions about that. But it does take a bit of an adjustment, because at first you sort of think, it's good, because what you do tend to get is generally a little better quality and more focused. But
that's interesting.
Does that sound really egotistical?
No, not at all.
Crimson, you haven't got an egotistical bone in your body. You haven't.
That in itself it takes some getting used to. And I have to say, it did coincide with we went to an event, and it is one of these events that you ask to attend, and I mean, they're not looking for Love Island, but they are looking for a particular type of person to attend, and we submitted, and I mean, again, it kind of coincided with that. I think that was one of our first events that we attended together. So I did go through a bit of a crisis of, oh my God, I'm a lot bigger than some of these women. I'm not as attractive as some of these women.
You are playing yourself down
massively.
You are.
So it took, and I was very grateful that I'm in a relationship where I can talk about things like that. Returning to the exam question of, is it different? I guess one thing that I find really interesting, obviously having never had a single male's profile, because I'm not one, I think I get an insight into the kind of things that guys get now.
Okay.
We've had quite a number of guys who've messaged, obviously aimed at him, and they're asking if they can meet and things like that. Now, he is straight, and it's obviously on the profile that he's straight. And whilst I know that a lot of people on Fab will put straight, that they're aware that there are various stigma for being bi still for men. Ridiculous, but so they won't say it, so I guess they'll take a punt and they'll message and see. But so we do get a lot of things like that. We had one the other day, which was somebody asking, he wanted to be a cuckold and he would pay us. Well, hang on a minute, I'm not in a relationship with you. So
we've had that.
Yeah,
we've had that. We've also as well had people offering to be our slaves.
Oh yes.
Which I've quite fancied that. Just literally to, mow the lawn, do this stuff. Useful stuff.
My patio jet washing. So if anybody's skilled in that.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm joking. But so that's kind of interesting. And I have to say, the other thing that I find interesting is probably not the right word, disconcerting, I suppose. It's the first time that I've really felt, in some respects, objectified, because obviously I now come attached with a man, so therefore I am now, in some people's eyes, I'm a man's possession and property. So you'll get these messages where it's like, does she do this? Or, she's really hot. Do you mind if I wank over her?
I've never actually thought about that, because we get the same stupid messages.
Yeah.
Obviously, because people know from the podcast, so sometimes we get listeners from the podcast. Thankfully, we appreciate the huge majority of our listeners are lovely and they get in contact with us and send lovely messages. But you do get people like those sort of messages. And I've never actually realised that a woman can be more objectified as a couple. Mm. It is really annoying as well that the majority assume that it's the guy answering the message.
And actually, I mean, we do share the profile admin, but in terms of the job that I do, I probably have more flexibility. So, for example, throughout the day to be able to read and reply. So the chances are it could well be me. And I sometimes feel like replying to them. I don't know if you've seen Orange is the Black. Am I allowed to But there's one wonderful bit where they're touring the prison and they ask her if she can fix a microwave or something, and she says, "If I concentrate extra hard with my lady brain," I feel like saying, "If I concentrate extra hard with my lady brain, you could ask me because I can read and reply."
You should. You absolutely should.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting.
You would think that in this day and age, though, that kind of, you know, stigma of, you know, man in charge of woman would kind of not be there anymore.
I think you've got the automatic presumption that it is from single guys, and I'm sure the decent single guys get really pissed off with the idiots, but you do get single guys that just don't understand and don't have a brain cell that literally, like you said, Crimson, it really is perfect how you described it, because you said it objectifies women, and it is, well, can I wank over her? Does she meet alone? Is the other one. So you've got like a couple's account.
Yeah.
Does she meet alone? Yeah, I'm just going to send my wife off on her own. And this is really bad for the genuine single guys, because they get tarred with the same brush, and they're nothing like that.
No, but it goes from one extreme to the other, because you either get it, so it's that way, or you get the ones that completely ignore the males when they're in a couple and just want to talk to the females. And that in itself can cause issues, because, I mean, it's like, no, we're a couple. So, you know, whether, like with myself and Mr. N, we decide to do the hot wife thing, don't just assume that because we're a hot wife couple that you don't need to talk to him and include him, because that's the whole part of it.
Oh, it's so true, so true. I mean, I've got to say, that's seeing it from that flip side now. Having been a single woman, I would always want to know that the woman of a couple was comfortable with me, because sadly there are both single men and single women who almost see themselves as, your partner will want me because I'm better. You're on the scene because you're looking for something better.
Yeah.
No, a couple is, I mean, there may well be some, because of course we know that there's as many different dynamics as there are people on the scene, on the hobby. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of couples are here because they're looking for something different, not because they're looking for something better.
And also, it's not just about looking for something different. It's about looking for something to enhance your relationship as well.
To share.
Exactly. I mean, it is very difficult for people that aren't in the naughty hobby to kind of grasp why we do what we do. But the feelings and everything that you get back from having those experiences is phenomenal.
I mean, when we've been talking about the fact that, you know, we were happy to stay around and we did want to explore together. I mean, what we've said is that we do want to play together, and the whole thing for that, for me certainly, is I like the fact that we're both having an experience, but we're having different parts of that experience, and then later you come together and you do your debrief, you chat about it, and it's like, you know, I watched what you felt and vice versa. I think that's really cool, because you can share with each other that, and also of course you know what, if from my side of things, I know what that woman's feeling, and that's really cool, because I know how amazing that feels.
Exactly.
And I guess as, like you say, I mean, being able to share your experience, that's a big thing, good and bad. So if you have like a bad experience, you've got somebody there to share that with and kind of offload it. And we've spoken to single people before where they've had like a real shit meet or a shit experience, and they've said it's really hard then, because you go home and
you've got nobody to sort of, you know, debrief with or talk to about it or ask questions about it.
A couple of the single guys have said one of the worst things is sometimes you have an amazing meet and then you go home on your own.
Yeah.
And you've got no one to share it with. Share that, you know, euphoria of what you've experienced.
I totally get that. Obviously, again, being in that same scenario myself, really. And it is, I think what really drew my attention to that was when we have been to club nights together, quite often, so when we see each other, we will see each other from a Friday to a Sunday, vast majority of the time. So if we go to a club on a Saturday, then quite quickly, sort of late morning, it's like, anyway, airport and off we go. And that, it made me realise how saying, on the weekends we'd been to a club night on that Saturday, and you don't have as much time to process and talk about and to be together. It really drove home how difficult that was. And then I sort of thought, and do you know what? Absolutely. As a single woman, it's a really strange contrast to go from everything you've done in a club on a night before to being pitched back into normal daily life.
Yeah.
Here I am swimming with my friend, and last night, this is weird.
Last night I was doing doggy paddle with a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you? Or I think I can't remember if I talked about it last time. Mentioned a bit at work because we all work from home. On a Tuesday, we do a social meet, and it's just a chance for everyone to talk about the weekend and what's going on in their life at the moment. So when I've been to a club before, to say to people, "How was your weekend?" Yeah, it was good.
I know. It's so difficult, isn't it? It is difficult. I do sort of hybrid working, so I work 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. Yeah. And obviously, I have mentioned before that I have told my close friends at work that we work at a club. They know what type of club it is. They know we do events. But sometimes I forget that I haven't told them the whole story. And the amount of times I've gone to say something and gone, oh, no, I can't say that. And it is really difficult, which is why I think when you do have those social events, or you go to a club and you talk to people that you've met or and you can just be so open and just be yourself. You don't have to think about what you're saying. It's just liberating. That's
what I love about the Discord, because whether previously having been on my own because I've been a single woman, or whether now because, airport run complete, now sitting in an empty house thinking, oof, the Discord is there, and it might not be physical face-to-face contact, but it is that opportunity to talk about the evening. And if you've got anything, I have a couple of people who I chat to one-to-one as well. So I know that there's always people there that I can process with if need be. Yeah, and
there's always somebody there that you can just send you a message to say, hey, haven't heard from you, is everything okay? Just reach out, which is lovely.
Absolutely.
We had an email once, and I think I mentioned this a couple of times on the podcast, where somebody said, I can't believe it's actually that real, that it's that such a strong community. And they came up to me at an event, and we're just like, we're blown away, because we can see, and they were watching the camaraderie, I suppose, between people that you've just seen each other. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you play with these people, but you just have this such tight bond.
Absolutely.
And that's people. I always say people come for the sex, but they stay for the friendships.
Absolutely, it is fantastic.
So if you don't mind me asking, Crimson, how are you coping with the long distance?
It's definitely the hardest thing about it, and we will often say that. And I think it's probably the thing we say most to each other. I bet if you could go back through messages and find the most used word or something, it would be sleeps, because we'll be like 5 more sleeps, 4 more sleeps. Because that's definitely the hardest bit, because we actually fly to see each other. Again, so I won't bore you with the details, but my God, the difficulties that, in particular me, I would say never fly anywhere with me would be my advice, because I seem to be a disaster magnet. So if you want to get where you're going, do not go on the same flight as me. So that makes it hard again, because it's not even like it's under your control. So for somebody who am I a control freak? Probably not, but I do like to have order. So it's quite hard for someone like me to be like, I'll hand over accountability to somebody else as to whether I actually get to see my partner this weekend or not. So that can be difficult. I think we're very lucky in that we see each other significantly more than I had originally thought we might. We pretty much managed to see each other 3 weekends out of 4 in a month. So
wow, that's amazing. But that just goes to show the commitment you've got to each other.
Yeah,
isn't
I think
it?
so. Yeah, absolutely.
It is interesting as well that we know quite a few couples who are long distance relationship couples in the naughty hobby.
Yeah, that would not surprise me.
And when you think, Mrs. N had a long distance relationship many, many years ago than you before. And you were saying long distance relationships don't work. But they clearly do in the naughty hobby, because we know a couple of really tight, close couples.
Yeah, I think the differences between the long distance relationship I had, which I was a lot younger then, to relationships like what Crimson has and everything, is the fact that the two people involved wanted to make that effort, and you had that connection. And if you don't have that on one side, if you don't have it on both sides, I should say, if it's more one-sided than the other, it's very rare that it works out.
It just, absolutely. I think what's nice is that you do appreciate the time you get together.
Yes.
As well. I mean, it's interesting because it's feast or famine for us, really. So it's 48 hours together, and then it's like cut off for anything up to 3 weeks potentially, depending on when we're going to see each other. And I know I briefly referenced this last time in terms of meeting people. I think that is the beauty of things like Fab, that it allows you to make contact with people that you would have never had the opportunity to meet.
Yeah.
Because how on earth would you? But things like the forums on Fab, the Discords, the club nights, where you've got people travelling from all over the country, you encounter people who are miles away from you. You have the tools and the abilities to get to know those people, to form relationships of all kinds.
Yeah.
And as you say, then all you need then is that desire on both sides to make it work.
I mean, that is a really good point, Crimson, because obviously in my day, I'm talking back to when I was like sort of 19, 20 years of age. We didn't have...
Not the 1920s.
Cheeky. I'll get you later for that. But it was before mobile phones were invented. So, and we didn't have that connection. We didn't have FaceTime, or it literally was your home phone. Was the only connection, or literally writing a letter by pigeon mail. So I am that old. I'm so sorry, but I am.
A little aside, fun fact, which is absolutely nothing to do with the naughty hobby. I have 3 shoeboxes full of all of the letters that my granddad wrote home to my gran during World War II.
Wow.
And it sounds really silly, but I do occasionally think of them, because when we're able to make a video call when we're not seeing each other, jump on a plane at will and come home to see each other, I do think, my gosh, how lucky I am compared to my grandparents who had to wait months and didn't see each other for literally months on end and things like that. So there we go. Communication
is a blessing that we take for granted. It's true.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of people bark on about social media and the negative side of it, but there's such a huge positive side to it as well. For so many people, especially people that, if they're homebound, they can't get out, you still feel like you've got that connection with people.
Yeah, but social media, the technology is amazing. It's just us humans that screw it up.
It's true. That is so true. Very true. If it's used properly, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Of course, the other thing I don't think I've mentioned at all, you asked me about how it was different, the club element. I'm pretty sure that he must think, she's been at the podcast again. Because every time I message him saying, been having a think, we need to talk about.
I'm so sorry.
It's different. When you're a single person, that being a couple in the hobby is going to be different. Of course you do. But knowing how different and all the different ways that it's different and all the things that you've got to think about now that you're a 2 and not a 1, it's really, interesting. I mean, things like I was... we've been doing the whole thing about how do we tell each other like this person, or absolutely not. Yeah. without verbalising that in front of the couple that we might be talking to. So we had our very first time we went to a club together. We were in the car, we were driving along, and he was making markings on my leg, how about that? I think I'll probably confuse that with the other one that you just did. So we need something that's completely different.
I guess as well, as a couple, when you join the naughty hobby as a couple, you've experienced everything together. So Mrs. N does sometimes forget people that You do though, don't
That's
you?
menopause brain, darling.
Menopause brain. People come in and I go, no, we've actually been friendly with those. Go, how, really?
Don't, because it's really embarrassing, and I do apologise if that has happened with anybody.
But apart from those people, I guess when you've both been on the scene separately, is there more, I'm just thinking out loud, is there more, I suppose, space for jealousy? Because somebody might come in that you don't know them, but then the other person knows them. And so there's a chance that somebody could come in that they've been intimate with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's just something that's come to me.
That's a really interesting point. So the one thing that we have said is that certainly for the time being, we prefer to play with people who are fresh to both of us.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was necessarily a jealousy, because certainly I don't get a spike of jealousy when I think of it from my side. But I think it just felt like it would be, I don't know, it just felt like the right way to do things. People that were new to each other, and that's not to say, new to both of us. That's not to say that further down the line, we might not play with people that one or the other of us already played with. So yeah, I guess that is really. But we haven't thought of it from a jealousy point of view, so that's really interesting. I know what you mean.
There is all lots to navigate, isn't there? Because that might be a rule that if you are two singles that you become a couple, it might be a rule that you might decide to put into your little rule book between the two of you.
Yeah.
That it's okay. We only play now with people that, unless we're both happy, because somebody that you might be happy with as a single person, your partner might not be happy with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've got that extra dynamic. I guess things literally are, you do a 180 and everything changes when you're a couple.
And that's exactly it. It's really interesting because you're not just you with a partner, you are a whole new entity. And I don't think I had absorbed quite how much that is the case. I'm not just crimson with some bloke along for the ride. It is absolutely a joint endeavour, and it's about learning. And this is why we're in no rush to. What will happen when we're ready for it, and when the time is right, and when we meet the right people and so on. But we're not sort of sitting there with, come on, we're behind schedule. We should be.
Yeah. I guess that's a plus though, because you have that experience as a single person. You know all the pitfalls, so you can avoid a lot of the pitfalls that, like me and Mrs. N, just blindly waded into.
There's been many pitfalls along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. But who knows? You are quite, is it fair to say naive? Is that the right word? Anybody, whether you join as a couple or whether you join as
I think naive is definitely the right word, because until you experience it or you have more knowledge of it, you can't really gauge it, can you? No. So I think naivety is the correct term.
It changes you, I think. It definitely changes you. Something you said earlier on, Crimson, that the people that you meet that you would never, ever meet, there's such an eclectic mix at a swingers club. We've said before, you can have like a professional footballer standing next to a judge. And I'm so proud of the people that we've met that we would never have met in our normal friendship circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've met and spent time and gone out with tea girls, and we've learnt about their lifestyle and the positives and negatives for them, things that they've had to face and in life and stuff. And that makes you think more as a person, I think, of how you treat others.
I agree.
And how you want to be treated as a person.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. It just really opens yourself up to other experiences and other viewpoints, doesn't it? And I think there's so many times I've heard non-hobby friends, colleagues, what have you, talking about passing judgments on things they've heard about others. And you think, so what?
I mean, it's taught me, and that's one thing I'm really proud of about being in the naughty hobby, is the fact that it's taught me you accept people for who they are. You see beyond what everybody else sees, and you see the person that they are within. And I love that about the hobby. It's one of my favourite things, getting to know people as them.
But if I could meet me from before I joined the naughty hobby, I'm ashamed to say that I was far more judgmental of people, you know, and now I'm definitely not as much. When somebody walks through the door, you know, it doesn't matter what they look like, because I don't make those natural assumptions that I would have done before.
Yeah,
we went to a BDSM night. Yes. And we went, and one of the first people in there was a guy dressed in a pink PVC nurse's outfit.
Yeah.
Me previously would have been like, giggled and laughed stupidly. And I just had this conversation with him, and it was really, really interesting, fascinating conversation that actually became very boring. We went on to talk about mechanical stuff. And it just goes to show, here I am talking to this really intelligent engineer, but his dress completely went out of my mind.
That's what I mean. You just don't even notice it, do you?
No. And it's just like, you know, sometimes we can be so close-minded.
I just wonder sometimes, because of society, we're almost expected to be a certain way in society. Because part of the naughty hobby doesn't conform to normal society, is that why we're more open-minded and welcoming and things? Because we don't want to be like everybody else that conforms to what society tells you should be.
Yeah.
And that was it. We're used to walking off the track.
Yeah.
And we recognise that. So if we were to speak to the random person in the street and sort of say, swingers, thoughts, they would have so many judgments. And we know that in the main, that is just absolute crap. It doesn't hold water at all. And therefore, if that applies to swingers, there's absolutely no reason why it can't apply to anybody else. I think you learn to take people for how they behave, how they treat others, how they comport themselves, the kind of conversations that they can have, as opposed to who they might want to bump naughties with at some point, what they happen to be wearing at that particular moment. Yeah. Because we are not what we're wearing, and we aren't who we choose to fuck. We are the behaviours that we show others. We're how we contribute to society. We're the impact that we make on other people. Yeah. And I think you learn to see that side of people. And that's just what's so enriching about it, isn't it? Because and
I guess as well, like you said about social media earlier on, but social media has given us that anonymity. I'll get it out eventually. Where you get the keyboard warriors that will say things on social media that they would never dream of saying face to face to people. And so all of a sudden it seems to have given certain individuals like a key to just be a shit to other people. You know, and I guess it's just this voice. It seemed to be like a few years ago, didn't it, where, and I still blame Simon Cowell for a lot of this shit.
I know where this is going to go now.
Because Simon Cowell and the X Factor, it became almost fashionable to critique everything.
Yeah, and to shock.
Yeah, critique and shock. And of course, eventually, the inevitable happened, and they picked on people with mental health issues and stuff. And they were there as stooges for entertainment.
Well, they were there to be ridiculed, weren't they?
Yeah.
Which is awful.
Everybody knows I'm from an entertainment background, and I knew really, really good musicians and singers that would never get on X Factor, but you would have these poor souls that, bless them, couldn't hold a note. They clearly had mental health issues, and they were put on as stooges on a Saturday night on mainstream TV, where they would literally be ridiculed by the whole nation. They would then be in the newspaper the following day on the Sunday rag papers and stuff. And that was literally entertainment for and that's no different to what we used to have years ago, putting people in the stocks and you know.
Yeah,
it is,
exactly that. Exactly that.
And Yeah, and I just think, so in being in the naughty hobby, I think, without the woke shit and all that, let's not get into the woke stuff, but you can just be nice to people and just realise that was not cool, that whole era of ridiculing people, and then social media came in and made it 10 times worse, and but I think the naughty hobby does make you think about others. Absolutely.
I could hand on heart say that the naughty hobby has made me a better person.
Do you think it's because we stand, you go into a playroom and you are literally at your most vulnerable? If you drop your towel, you are standing there naked in front of a load of strangers. I still often giggle to myself because I've walked through libs, and you think to yourself that thing of being in a dream where you're walking naked through a pub or something, and you think, but I am literally walking through a bar almost naked.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? You realise that there's no one way of doing life. You speak to people with so many different viewpoints. I mean, look at us now. Here we are on a podcast about the naughty hobby, and we're talking about, we're related, but we're talking about all sorts. So, and you have conversations about all sorts of things, and you come across all sorts of new viewpoints, and they help to shape your own viewpoints out of that. But equally, you learn to realise tolerance, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we've used the example of being bi, so let's use that again. Instead of viewing people who are bi as other and wrong and get them away from me, they're going to be all over me and I'm going to have to back them off with a stick. You then realise that no, it's just people with different preferences, and you become more tolerant of things that are not what you do yourself. I think this is the big thing about the hobby, and that's what I've always liked about it. And I feel quite lucky. I say, 20 years on and off I've been knocking around this now, and I think to myself, I feel like I've kind of, to an extent, grown up with that, and I feel lucky to have had that. I think it has definitely shaped my views of others.
I was just going to say, Crimson, because I know obviously you said your marriage was from meeting somebody within the hobby. I'm assuming you were fairly young at that time.
What was I? I was 31 when we met, and we married when I was 33.
That's young, honey.
I don't feel. I wasn't like early 20s, but I guess so. Yeah.
So do you think, what I was trying to get at is, not to try and compare, but that the way your relationship happened then to how your relationship is now, do you think you were glad you went through all that experience, or do you think, I wish the experience I'm having now was how it was back then?
There's a two-part answer to that, probably. Obviously, you sometimes think to yourself, I wish more parts of my life had involved this person. I wish I had a long life worth of memories to be able to look back, and the first that I've had in my life, I wish that I'd had them with that person. But then equally, some of the things that I experienced in my marriage, which was not a happy marriage or in any way a successful marriage, let me just point that out, I would not be able to have the relationships I have now without having gone through that experience. Absolutely not. Everything we've talked about on the scene, I keep saying scene because
it is a scene.
It is a scene, honey. It is.
Yeah. I know you don't like it, so I was saying.
No. We like scene. We like scene.
I don't mind scene. Lifestyle is the one that I don't like.
And everything we've talked about now about that tolerance and things like that was part of what some of the things that drove me away from that marriage, because it was a perfect example of how not to do it. I think sort of having experienced that, it shows you what you're willing to accept and where your lines are drawn, and makes it much easier to have healthier relationships later on in life, for sure.
Do you think the scene has changed itself since you began? Because it's not very often we get somebody with like 20 years of experience in the scene. So that's something, do you think it's changed at all?
I do. I think it's very different. There's a lot more people who are using it for different things now, would be how I'd say.
Okay.
And I think that's...
Would you say then, sort of like back in the day, it was more focused on sex?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there was a thread the other day and somebody was bemoaning the fact that now all people seem to want to do is talk and not do. And I thought, I don't feel like that's strictly accurate. And I did comment actually saying when I first joined the scene, there were quite a few organised socials still. And they were socials, not play events. But there were also, it was a lot more local then. So the people that you'd speak to on a regular basis were also probably within 10, 15, maybe 20 miles of you as well. So a lot of people would get together Friday and Saturday nights, not even, again, necessarily for sex, but just to hang out together. And if you went to a club, you could be almost certainly guaranteed that you'd bump into people that people that went there every Friday or every Saturday or both. And again, probably a little bit less travelling than there ever used to be, so you wouldn't get quite the we've come down here today from Newcastle or we've driven up from Devon or whatever that you get. And so I think there were more people were there in order to meet others and meet them socially and meet them for sex. I think what you've got now is a greater influx of people who are using it to have free porn, essentially. I think I genuinely, I cannot believe for 1 minute that some of the nonsense messages I've received in the last few years are actually real, that they don't actually want to do that. They get off on messaging saying, I want to do this, or, what was one that went into the Kitty's litter tray the other day about, I want to take you out and be ludicrously slutty and you'll be in a skirt that barely covers your arse and you'll have no knickers on and all this kind of thing. And it's like, really, you're not actually going to do that though, are you? You just like you're getting off on sending that back to women, and there's probably a small part of you that's hoping that they'll message you back and you can have a bit of ding dong backs and forwards and you'll do your wanking thing and then you're done.
Just for our purpose of our listeners there, Crims actually did the wanking. Very good.
We got the hand gestures and everything.
I know I'm talking to two innocents here, so I felt
I was a little bit intimidated by the scale of your wanking because that was quite large.
But yeah, so I think that's a big difference, and that's where a lot of the negative about single guys comes from, because there are so many people, there are so many of those people now. Yeah, I think that's the other thing as well. It's more mainstream. It's not mainstream, but it's more known. It's not as niche and secret as it used to be.
I think you're right. I think that there is like a mainstream element to it. At the end of the day, it's been like on. I know Mrs. N hates this, but it's been on Channel 4. You've got obviously the Swingers program, which was filmed at Libs. You've got Open House. There is like a mainstream element to it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm literally just waiting for some awful franchise to come in and offer drive-throughs of swinging clubs.
I don't mind the fact that it's more mainstream. I think it's great that it's more mainstream. I just wish that it was done honestly.
But that's media. That's only media. That's not the people involved in it.
No.
What's interesting is now we've spoken to couples who are in their mid-20s, and we'll say to them, you always get that conversation of, do your parents know? Does anybody know? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I told my mum and dad, and they were like really cool about it, and they just had a giggle, and we're like, holy shit. And you're already noticing the difference in the generations, where people in their late 20s will just be so more open about it than we were when we first entered into it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know, again, we talked about this last time, so not to go over old ground, but I would in no way, shape or form be happy with my parents finding out. That's pretty laid back, really, and very live and let live. But I'm maybe doing her a dirty, but I suspect my mother would be absolutely horrified, and I think it would cause real problems. Yeah. There's certainly no way I would be out there like, absolutely not a chance. Not a chance.
We've literally spoke to people where their parents are going, did you have a good time at the sex club? Holy shit. Even that now is kind of, you do like that element of naughtiness to it. And even that now seems crazy.
I know, it does. It's just one of those things, A, you don't like to think of your parents having sex anyway. And B, the thought of your parents knowing that you're having sex is even worse. It's like,
I do not want you knowing that I'm having this much fun.
Yeah.
Was I just coming up to 25 when I first joined my first site and started going to clubs, and I wasn't the only person of that age group, but I was very, very definitely one of a small number. But again, now, I mean, you do see a lot of people who are couples, singles, who are on Fab in their 20s. And yeah, it is just a surprise me, really, how big those numbers are. And it is testament to how more widely known, even if people aren't involved in it, people know about it. I would say the first time it was mentioned to me, I vaguely remember it being a little bit of a joke at school.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something like swinging that thing I'm choosing to consciously not engage with. It wasn't really on my radar. So that's why when the guy I was dating at the time was like, there are websites that you can use to meet women for sex. I was like, how can that be the case? What do you mean?
Yeah.
But also as well, I mean, you look at media and stuff. Back then, if you wanted to watch films regarding threesomes, I'm trying to think like the early ones, the early films that were mainstream films. I don't think I can really think of any that had threesomes. You had like what did we have? Your Sharon Stone one, your Basic Instincts, and your sort of 9.5 weeks. Was it 9.5 weeks? That kind of thing.
The Ice Cube
thing. But none of those were like non-monogamy or in media. It's not been covered that very often. But now you've got obviously like 50 Shades of Grey, which is obviously BDSM and stuff. So now
but again, that's not like a threesome thing.
No, it's not a threesome thing. But that brought, for instance, BDSM into the mainstream media. But I guess, actually, when you think about it, we are pioneers, because the only thing that's not really been brought into mainstream media is the non-monogamy. There's been no blockbuster film, has there, for non-monogamy? So, Steven Spielberg, if you're listening, his film would be shit. There's no sex scenes in his film.
It'll be set on a planet somewhere. It's all spacey.
Yeah. The only thing in Titanic was the hand on the steamy window. Do you remember that?
True.
That was his closest thing to a sex scene.
It's more suggestive, isn't it, rather than actual, full viewing of stuff.
Yeah,
is what they tend to do. It's more suggestive. But
what would that film be? I mean, there'd be a Mrs. M going around straightening off the sheets on the bed.
Any budding film directors that. I'm just pointing out now, the film rights are available to our book, Vanilla to Vixen.
There you go. Is that available on Amazon?
That's available on Amazon.
Oh, thank you for mentioning. And also v2v.uk.
That's the one, v2v.uk.
Bless you. We didn't pay her to do that, honestly.
No, honestly. So we are going to see the both of you together, aren't we? Literally Friday tonight.
Yes, all being well.
A
rather fabulous new venue, which I've got to say I'm really excited to see.
Oh, do you know what? We are super excited.
This venue, it is the business.
Because it's so different. There's not been a venue like this anywhere for us to be able to do an event.
No.
So to be able to take a vanilla venue and turn it into a naughty hobby event is just brilliant.
We have got a whole floor dedicated underground, literally underground. It is just going to be naughty.
It is going to be naughty. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I think the one thing that we both, myself and Mr. N, have said about, because it is a smaller venue, it's more intimate, which means that we get more chance to chat to people. This weekend, we're so looking forward to actually being able to spend time properly with people. See how many people I can groom for the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I suspect your diary is going to be quite full, especially with 2 nights to get to.
Yeah, by Sunday we're going to be slightly dead.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
But it'll be worth it.
It will be. It's gonna be amazing. Like I say, it's unique. It's not really been done, has it? So
that's it. You don't want to stand still ever, do you? You don't ever want to stand still. You always want to experience new things, do new things.
Yes.
And so that's what V2V is about. It's about exploring and just finding yourself.
It is definitely going to be a really good night, and say in that kind of setting. I mean, the dress that I'm planning on wearing is something I bought with a New Year's Eve libs night in mind, but I didn't go in the end. So we're talking full length a sequence, and there are not many venues. In fact, before you announced it, I remember saying to himself, I've got this dress. I have no idea. We need to find somewhere for me to wear it, but I don't know where it's going to be, because it's not. I'd feel like a right dick rocking up to libs is, and you can go. You can dress up. It would feel a bit like, did she accidentally think she was going somewhere else? There's not many venues that I would feel comfortable to wear this dress. So
Velvet Vixens is the place.
It definitely
gives
is.
Everybody the chance to feel like Lord and Lady of the Manor.
Yeah.
This is what Velvet Vixen's about. We are so excited about this.
Super excited, aren't we?
Super excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you so much for today.
It's been lovely to chat to you again, my lovely. We love talking to you, whether it's on the bed surrounded by naked people or on the podcast.
Ruining people's nights, talking about gout when people are trying to have sex around us.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you all the best topics.
I think it was lovely, though, that you actually sent us a message about 2 or 3 days later. Went, oh, God, I hope I've not ruined your night.
It's like, no, we had a great time.
I was really worried that I might have been like that one person you couldn't shake, thinking, is she a message?
No, not at all, honey. Not at all. We absolutely loved it. It was just great. Yeah.
That was the best night. That was so cool.
Can I just say one thing, by the way? The gout is not me. I just went, just in case anyone was thinking, gout.
You can rock up to a swingers club with gout. It doesn't.
I hope I haven't oversold it now.
I'm sure you haven't. Mr. N's upset because I obviously had to have a new frock for this event. Again, it is a full-length ensemble, so we say. So, I can't wait to wear it. We're all going to feel incredibly special.
Yeah. We've got champagne ready.
Yeah.
Boxes of champagne that are going to be... They're in the car, literally ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be...
Probably got about 3 times as much champagne as you need.
Yes, there is this.
Well, we just felt like, for anybody that's been to a Vanilla to Vixen or a Vegas Vixens, we usually do little sweets or little giveaway things, but we just felt the sweets didn't quite cut it. So we've gone a little bit more upper class.
That's right. Yeah, we were thinking you wouldn't offer Prince Charles a Dolly mixture, would you?
No, I don't think a Percy Pig would go down well, would it?
No. This is it. So,
it would for me. I love a Percy Pig personally, but
but no, we needed to go a little bit higher. So yeah, we've got Italian sparkling wine. I'm not sure.
So everybody will get a welcome drink before they get a hug from me.
Definitely. Well, we can't wait to see you both. Thank you so much, Crimson.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on again. Bye now.
See you later.
Take care. Bye.